Before we start, maybe I will let my guests introduce themselves.
Sure. So I'm Benjamin. I'm a Datadom co-founder and CTO. What we are doing at Datadom is to protect websites and applications against all automated threats using, obviously, AI in real time. And we are protecting now more than 70% of the e-commerce website in France.
Okay, so I'm Mathieu. I'm a co-founder of CyberAngel. And what we do at CyberAngel is detect data leaks from open servers on the internet. So basically, we have scanners that find open servers, then list the files on the server and try with AI to detect potential data leaks and detect, is this a sensitive file or not? And well, this is the hard problem that we have to solve with AI today.
And I don't know if I have to introduce you, Guillaume, or you have to introduce yourself.
I can do it. So I'm Guillaume Poupard, I'm the head of ANSSI. ANSSI is the French cybersecurity agency, but for non-French people, don't be afraid. We are good guys. We are not an intelligence service. We are not a police service. We are only here to protect our national infrastructures and to cooperate with all the people who can help us to fight against cybercrime.
Okay, so Mathieu and Benjamin are very modest. You know, they are running, I think, the two best startups in France on that topic. So they're very modest. But let me start, guys, with a story. In 1997, Kasparov was beaten by a computer. I don't know if you ever met Kasparov, but I met him several times. I met Karpov also, and he has a big ego. Okay, so being beaten by a computer was for him the disaster of his life, and with a big D. So what Kasparov started to do several years ago, he started to set up chess play with a team of chess players playing with their own computer. So he had a team of players authorized to play with computers helping them against another team of players with computers helping them. From that, he's been doing that for 10 years. After 1997, he's done that for 10 years. And he came with a concept, because he's been looking at it, collecting data. And he came with a concept which I found is interesting to start our talk. He realized that a normal chess player with a good program and a very good process, meaning handling the program, handling the game, was better than just a very good computer, and even better than an expert player with just a computer without the process. So that brings the questions to AI and cybersecurity. Do you really think, the three of you, that when you bring AI into cybersecurity, how will it be? He called that, Kasparov called that the Centaurus paradox, like the Centaurus, you know, me man, me horse. And I think that brings the questions in when you think about AI in cybersecurity of maintaining the man in the loop when you detect things and how we can envisage that in the next years. So just to introduce a small story. Guillaume?
What you describe is exactly what happens in cybersecurity today. On both sides, what we see is that the attackers are developing techniques. For sure, there are some human beings behind those attacks, but there are also clearly computers and probably AI hidden behind their process. So that's what we observe, because it goes too fast to be just only human being, only experts, but we see things that cannot be, I'm sure it cannot be done by machines today. On the other side, on our side, what we observe is that the people who try to detect the attacks, they have many information. Those information are impossible to understand for human beings. So we need computers, we need process, we need algorithms to be able to understand what happens in practice and to discover what is wrong into all those big data. And the machines can prepare things, but at the end, we are no longer able to do automatic things. We need some experts who are able really to say, okay, this is something wrong, this is an attack, and this is just a mistake, and we don't have to be very careful with it. So the centerists, you said? I think today, in cybersecurity, we have bad centerists fighting against good ones, and it will keep on developing for sure.
Yeah, the case of CyberAngel, it's a bit different because we're not really fighting against attackers. It's mostly people that do a mistake and just let their servers open with data accessible for everyone. And the question of the mix between the machine and the human is also at the heart of what we do because, in fact, the simple concept of even defining what is a data leak is something that's difficult. We're not even able to define it with a sentence easily because it really depends on the context. So when we try to teach the machine how to detect what is a data leak, it's very, very hard. We need at least humans just to build a learning data set. That's one part because even a human which is not trained well enough will not be able to detect some data leaks. And then once we train the machine will never be able to do 100% of the job by yourself the same way we can do it with a human. So that's what we're trying to do at CyberAngel, do at least 99% of the job with the machine. But in the end, what brings really value to the client is when we are able to say, your data is coming from this server owned by this person, and this is something which is really hard to automate. So we have this dual part. We have a machine being able to scan billions of files every day, which a human would never be able to do. We have the AI being able to lower the size of the data as is bring back to the human. And then once the AI has done its job, we need a final step with the human delivering the data to the company to the client of CyberAngel. So we really need this duality between the machine to be able to basically scan the whole internet, and then the human being to really bring the value and extract the value from this data.
Yeah, so I will agree with you, sorry about that, but what we are doing also is to make the machine work with the human. So yeah, I agree with all of you. We are building one of the first layer of the security for our customers because we have to decide in real time on every single request on a website if the incoming request is generated by a human or by a robot. And there are so many requests as a second that any human can analyze it in real time. But at the same time, we are only the first layer of protection. And after our solution, there are many layers of protection involving many human experts that will work on improving the detection capability in real time. So that's a kind of feedback loop using human and machine learning in order to adjust and to adapt in real time regarding the evolution of the different threats.
Hey, you see, that's a very nice panel. They all agree with me. That's the better one. Let's go to another topic. Maybe you will have some differences. When you look at attack today in cybersecurity, there are attacks like the one you've seen with the Microsoft tool, you know, where you change the way of learning by feeding by wrong data. And you have attacked by the fact that you have false, for example, image coming into systems. How do you see the three of you, the world coming on these points?
So I'm not sure I got everything about the question, but yeah, and one thing that goes in that direction, I guess, is one very big difference between AI in cybersecurity and AI in the rest of the other problems we're trying to solve with them, is that in cybersecurity, we have an adversarial model. That is, we are trying to solve a problem against a human adversary or a machine adversary. But it's not just detecting something with random noise and trying to extract the meaning from the noise. Here we have an adversarial noise that is someone who's trying to train to benefit from the fact that it can feed a false input to the algorithm and try to trick the algorithm really. So this makes a big difference and can change a lot of things in the approach. Typically, I think what you do is you have to have the algorithm evolve constantly to adapt to what the attackers are trying to do. And this is not something that we would find like in facial recognition. You have a data set, you train your algorithm, then it should be able to work for a long time. When you're working in cybersecurity, the algorithm need to be retrained all the time with new data sets, and data sets that you know need to be clean. Otherwise, if you train it with I would say, poisoned data sets, then your algorithm will not work, and you won't be able to detect the attacks. So one way of trying to trick the algorithm would be to start slow, inject small doses of poison, and then at a time, increase the dose, and you could stay undetected. So that's one big challenge when doing AI in cybersecurity, is finding these good data sets which has not been poisoned.
Which is, in fact, was exactly my question.
Oh,
so.
perfect.
Guillaume?
I'm also not sure to answer your question, but it's an opportunity to give a message. It took a lot of time for people doing digital transformation and so on to make those people working with people from cybersecurity side. And, well, nobody wanted to talk to the other one. It was clearly a mistake. We need to talk to each other. For IA, it's exactly the same thing. We have to work together. Otherwise, we'll make the same mistakes as we did before, when microchips were invented, when the protocols of internet were invented. It was invented by people who were very, very smart, but who didn't thought at this time about the threats. We can catch the threats, we can explain the threats, and we want to work with people who will develop all those fantastic new applications. And taking into account the threats at the beginning is a very good solution to be efficient to fight against those threats. And, well, we don't have to be afraid by it. Sometimes friends of mine tell me, okay, you see threats everywhere, you see bad things everywhere, you live in a terrible world. No, so don't worry, I sleep very well, and my life is very interesting, but the real world is with negative things. And what we are sure of is that if we don't take into account the risks, and if we don't implement measures to go against those risks into those new systems, they will be attacked, they will fail, and we can obtain very terrible things. And an example Mathieu just mentioned is, for example, poisoning of machine learning. We know that it is easy to poison a machine when it learns. So we have to work together to find robust ways to learn in order to avoid this. Another example is, for example, machines who have learned can be attacked, of course. They are cyber systems. They can be attacked, and the consequences of those machines, but also for all the users, will be terrible if we are not able to prevent the risk. So my message is very simple. Cybersecurity and artificial intelligence are not exactly on the same scope, it's not exactly the same thing, but we have to work together in order to do good things and to keep only good things.
I think we have to look at the cybersecurity and AI also in the way that systems can be faked. That was the purpose of my question. If you bring AI into the system, and using machine learning techniques, and only in machine learning techniques, you only learn, and that's what you said, from what you have. And there is a risk. So
yeah, that's exactly what we are trying to fight every day. Let me give you a quick history. When I have co-founded the company, we were fighting bad robots that try to hack, to brute force, to steal the content. And that was, at that time, not so complex because bots were using some very simple techniques. So they were far away from a real browser, from a real mobile application. But by the time they start to use some very advanced techniques, so now they are using Chrome headless. It's a version of the browser Chrome that you can run in a command line. So they are using exactly the same browser as any human. And on the other side, for the mobile parts, they are start to use and to infect mobile device. So now we are facing robots that are distributed across not only hundreds, neither thousands, but millions of different IP addresses. So they are so close to human that training the model and using this data set to generate machine learning is something very complex. And we are working every day, and that's the part where humans are important in order to make sure that the data are not infected by those bad behavior.
Okay, so before I wrap up this session, there's one point I would like to talk with you. I work with a very large company. I work for Thales, and cybersecurity is in one of the lab in the in the department I manage. When I talk to my colleague in Thales and I talk to information system and security of information system, well, we are organized. We are very organized. And I think we talk to you all the time, so. But
I confirm.
not enough. Okay, I got the message.
I confirm.
But the economy and the business is essentially people like you. And my feeling is there is not enough awareness, and I said not only in France, but also in Europe, about the importance of agency like yours. What's your feeling about that, Guillaume?
This is very important for us. Our agency was created 10 years ago. It's a very short time, but during 10 years, many things have changed. So the first priority for us was to build a very robust organization able to deal with. I'm convinced that what we need to do now is to open to all the ecosystem. So of course there are people like Thales, big companies, and now we know how to talk to each other and to work together. We need to open more to research, more to startups, more to SMEs, because the risk is very strong. We are very organized and powerful people in front of us, and I'm sure that if we want, and I'm sure we'll succeed, but if we want to succeed, it cannot only be done only with national agencies and big companies. We need all the ecosystem. This is the first thing. And the other thing is that if we keep only people doing security on one side and others on the other side, it will not be efficient. We will just observe people trying to correct what has been done in a bad way, in a wrong way, by others. So everybody should be involved into this security matter. Again, not dreaming or nightmaring about it all the night, but every people who develop new systems, new ideas, should include by design, as Thales often says, should include by design this cybersecurity. This is very, very important, and it is the only way to be sure that we will be able to win at the end.
So, what's your feeling? Just, you have 15 seconds.
Yeah. So, yeah, I agree with what Guillaume said, that we need to put cybersecurity at the heart of every product when we start designing it. It's really important. And also, it's the same, I would say a bit the same with AI. You need to take advantage of what we have typically in cybersecurity. It used to be human beings attacking machines and human beings defending these machines. Today, the attackers have started to use AI to do the attacks, so we need to use the AI to defend ourselves. It's like we need to start with cybersecurity, and we need to include the AI from the start.
Yeah, definitely. Just to give you a very quick example, what we are seeing now is that the bad guys are actually using AI against AI. And one funny story is that we are seeing situations where hackers are using Google AI to fight a Google security solution. So the face recognitions are used to detect and to bypass the CAPTCHA solution. So it's really AI against AI, and we have to get the best engineers, the best algorithm, and the best data in order to win this war.
Okay, thank you very much. So let me just wrap up that session. I think what I heard from the three of you is at least three messages. The first one, I think, is humans are essential. Even if we have automatic systems, even if we get to autonomy, to get to the right level of threat handling, you need to have the human in the loop. The second message I hear also is we need to be together to enhance our systems, to better train them, and to learn like a continuous learning to make it more performant if we're using machine learning to get to the system. And the third one is, I think, Guillaume, is the fact that we need to enlarge the ecosystem. We need to work all together. About 20 years ago, and I think I will finish on that other story, I was working with Microsoft, and at that time I was working for not Thales, and I went to Bellevue and I met Bill Gates, and I went to the show they were doing every Friday night. That was one thing I learned, which apparently I forget, is big companies need to take off their tie, which I will do, definitely, because then I can be like you. So thank you very much.